Lọ sùn. Ṣé bó ti sùn padà ṣe? Ìjáde àníbò wà lórí workshop full day nìní. Ṣé mo sọ fún mi láti ìjẹta pé mò ń ṣe workshop? Gbàdùn tí mo lè sùn, mo ń tògbé tí mo forí gbá kíní sí mi lè sùn.
No, online. Hello? Testing. I can hear myself here, I think. Perhaps.
Hello, sir.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah, we are here clearly.
How are you?
We are able to hear you, but your voice is very low. If there's any way, just to raise it a little bit.
No, share.
What do I do to increase volume? Can you hear me better now?
Not better.
It's okay.
Stay low, stay low.
How is
Yeah.
it now?
Get closer
It's
to the
low.
mic, please.
Yeah,
now.
please.
Can you hear me better now? Is it clearer?
Perfect.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
That's okay.
it's
Just
good.
carry on.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
It's better.
Thank you, IT, for that. So good afternoon and good morning for wherever it may be. My name is Obuku. I'm a member of the Africa Center for Systematic Review and Knowledge Translation. This afternoon, I'm going to go through risk of bias. I'm happy to be part of this course. So I'd like to start by thanking Effiong for thinking about Uganda and coming to do this course here with a colleague, Rosaline. Effiong, I'm thanking you. I know you are reporting or writing things. Thank you very much. Very appreciative of the collaboration. And also my colleagues who have delivered the past 2 days of the course, as well as yourself for coming. I see some faces I know, some faces, I think I don't know most faces. Perhaps only one. Yeah, maybe two there. Yeah, but it's good to see you around and having interest. How has the course been so far? The lunch is good. The software is very important first. The ambience is good. And online now is the lunch online there? Okay, so let's move. I delivered this course for the first time in 2014. So I'll do the same slides. I just want to see if anything has changed. Okay, these slides are 9 years old. The knowledge hasn't really changed much. Okay, and they're very good for basic starting. The advances, of course. So we're going to look at what bias is and what risk of bias is, as well as how to assess it. And then we will go through the hands-on exercise, whereby we'll apply the Cochrane tool, risk of bias tool. Okay. This is the Africa Center, which you heard about, and that is our founder, principal investigator. Professor Emeritus Sewanka Modelson, delivering a talk in 2018. We're just 5 years old. Our vision is to be a leading center of excellence in evidence synthesis and knowledge translation for public policy. We moved from health alone. We are now doing livelihoods and so on. We're also doing agriculture and so on. Yeah, and we are about to start politics also. It's very important to run regression models to see whether political parties can...
Your volume is very low. Please, can you help us?
So on. Davidson, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can.
So you want me to shout?
No.
If you have a history teacher would come and say, today I'm not going to shout. So now, today
I can hear you, sir.
So the mission is to transform Africa into an environment that is driven by evidence, informed public policy and action, and one that is self-reliant in capacity for evidence synthesis and knowledge translation. The 1090 gap, we are answering the 1090 gap. The 1090 gap is 90% of the diseases happening in Africa, okay, with the 10% of the resources to solve the problem. That is the 1090 gap, okay? Malaria is happening now, HIV, AIDS, and so on. And part of it is to build capacity for researchers to discover these solutions. And evidence synthesis or systematic reviews methodology is the beginning point of all research. I supervise master students, and really they keep rambling in their literature review. They are rambling. They're in east, west, they are nowhere. They come back to the center, all right? And they really don't know the subject, and they make a conclusion. Yes, in their literature, I rarely read literature review of this, the traditional one, because the guy is left, is east, is west, is nowhere, and concludes. Okay? So our motto is innovation, collaboration, and open access. Knowledge is free. And the knowledge which is not shared, yeah, is nothing, because it is stored. Okay? So you must be able to share knowledge and skills. You must be able to collaborate. I'm very happy with this team, this young man. I read that. Are you still a student in the University of Calabar? You're finishing. Almost. Very young man. And this is the future of Africa, by the way. Young people doing things. Yeah? The future belongs to you, by the way. Some of us have begun the afternoon of our lives, about to go to the evening. Others have passed their lives that the military is helping us with them. Okay? As we try to systematically review. So the center team is big. We've trained all these countries, about 13. But now with this collaboration, we are going to boast of even almost all of the countries, because the numbers are staggering. We also work with graduate students, and really we believe in the people. Research is about people. Research is a knowledge industry. It's not the computers, it's not the vehicles, yeah, but those are support systems. But people must be supported to think, to do research. They must be skilled, they must be equipped. And this systematic reviewing is one of those interventions. We've done lots of trainings, but we are keen to see that we transfer skills. Do a lot of talking, a lot of exercise, but skills transfer. So over my 10 years, I've discovered I can present all these slides, but they will mean nothing. That's why I said, give those guys the opener, the eye opener. You know, there's something called the cage. When you're assessing someone who likes drinking alcohol, in the morning, they have to take the eye opener to feel, you know, to system reset. Then they say, now I can start the day. So I was giving an eye opener. And how many of you have tried to read the paper on honey, the use of honey for wound healing? Just put up your hand. Okay. So, of course, it's a normal distribution. There are those who are at the extreme end of the tail. Then there are those who are also the other tail. Majority are usually at the center. Thank you so much, online participants. Thank you so much for participating. That's what makes this whole thing meaningful. So at the center, there was our first training in 2013. And, you know, we can only grow because with this collaboration, we are doing our nth training, and Alison perhaps has better statistics to tell us. Yesterday, we just awarded our founder a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 17th Joint Annual Scientific Conference on Health at Imperial Resort Beach Hotel in Entebbe. Entebbe used to be the capital. So what do you know about systematic reviewing? There are at least several steps. We counted at least 11, one of which is systematic, is risk of bias assessment. So what have you done? Which steps have you undertaken? May I have responses? Which steps have you undertaken? By show of hands, which steps have you undertaken so far in systematic review? What have you learned? I'm also assessing my team. Yes, go ahead. Searching. I knew you would start with searching because everybody believes searching and completing the search you have systematically reviewed. Very good. Go ahead. What else? You have looked at the softwares to search. I see. To search. Yes, go ahead. Developing a research question. This is the beginning. And what do you remember about the research question? Yes? Generating a protocol? Yes? Different frameworks. Now you have begun talking like someone who has been to my class. When you go back and you meet your boyfriend, you say, do you know a framework? Then she says, let me first take you out for KFC, then you tell me. Yeah? So which framework? PICO. Once you say PICO, for me in my class of clinical epidemiology, I give you full marks. Even if you have failed the other, I say, no, this one is very good. You will learn along the way. Okay, what else? PICOS, PECOS, finer, whatever. Okay. Yeah, PO, and sometimes those don't apply, prognostics and so on. Okay, are you all from health? Put up your hand if you're from health. Okay, who is not from health? Who is in agriculture? That is social determinants of health. Can you imagine if there was no food during lockdown, for example? Would you start saying, that now my HB is very good? You need that food, man. Whether the HB is good or bad, you first need what? To see the next day. Okay? So so these are the things I really wanted to talk about. Problem identification. There must be a problem. Question refining. Okay? Question refining. Then you register the review title. Why do we register review titles or protocols? Why? Just give me one. Yes. To avoid duplication. What else? To follow the plan, to make it transparent. What else? To make evidence users aware that in as far as we are concerned, this work is being done. So as decision makers, let us wait for this work to be completed. Also, WHO may know this work is being done. We do not need to commission it. Let's just contact this team if it is capable, and they give us the results. It's about transparency and accountability and its benefits. So you develop a protocol. So who has developed a protocol today? So this was a plan. I'm not talking about how good or bad the protocol is. Is it there? Have you done a protocol of some sort? If you did you give them? Where is the? Do you have protocols? You can send me protocols. You are sending to if you have the. You're good, very good. This you must learn by doing. Africa, we have been following. Who discovered Kilimanjaro? And it is some white man from I don't know where. As if the Maasai were not grazing cattle. So we must start. We must do. Okay, we must do these things, develop protocols and so on. And I'm proud to tell you that our center was innovating things that we were taking to the north. But when they published, they said they are the ones because they sent us the money. They're getting it. So we also must generate the money. Identify the studies, which is searching, then now risk of bias assessment. Let's look at this. What do you see? Online. Let's have online participants. Deborah, please, can you unmute? What do you see? On this slide, Deborah, what do you see? Okay, anybody online? What do you see? Davidson made me not to shout.
Does malaria vaccine
reduce
risk of death?
Does malaria vaccine reduce the risk of death? Thank you so much, Deborah. Can you go ahead and explain, or any other person? What is this that you see?
Yeah, yes. I can see intervention, which is the number is about 600.
Yes.
And then the death in 3 years, where you see that in the intervention, we receive a malaria vaccine plus EPI, which is the number is 300.
Yes.
And receive EPI only is 300.
Yes.
Then when you go to the death side is 4% and 12%.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
I also observe the use of PICO for eligibility criteria?
Yes. Thank you so much. You know, when you were in medical school and you are doing the viva voce, yeah, this is just the oral examination. But because we learned it from Latin, they say viva voce. And if you told your girlfriend in Africa Hall there that today I did a viva voce, she would buy you chips and chicken that day, thinking you're so clever. But it was just an oral exam, which she also did anyway. But for you, call it viva voce. So they would ask you now, what do you see there? And you
my
describe.
microphone
So
button.
hello? Can you hear me?
The outcome after 3 years, there was a death, the death percentage was 4 among those that received the malaria vaccine and the EPI. And those that died after 3 years that received only EPI was 12% out of the 300, which makes it 100%.
Thank you. All of you have talked the correct thing at the wrong time. Why?
I realize there's no population.
They realize there's no population.
Yes.
You're even reporting what is not
600. 600.
600.
The number of people, the
No,
intervention.
target population. No, the specific target population.
Yes. And that is how systematic reviewing is. You're always in a forest and there's disagreement and there are methods of achieving consensus. So the way they are talking, this is systematic reviewing the practice. Nuhu and Deborah, you know, trying to understand what the data is saying. And that's why you must have what? When you're systematically reviewing literature, you must have a what?
Protocol.
But a protocol. A protocol which has PICO and everything, but a protocol is the Bible. You know how now every church is coming from every corner saying Jesus Christ. The other time I saw a guy trying to go to heaven on a tree. He has also become Jesus. They are not following the Bible. So a protocol is to make sure when you reach in there and you have started meta-analyzing the data, you don't start saying, I'm going to go to heaven. You go back to reality. You get what I mean? So here, you are supposed to say this is a 2x2 table. That was the simple answer I was looking for. And the story or the message is, please, keep the message simple. Already you are talking about people looking for the population which is not there. And I was just asking, what is this? So systematic reviewing is about systematic reporting so that even the person who reads the newspaper can understand. But some of you want to put in Kendall's Tau. They accuse Cochrane's Q. Say, Higgins I squared. When we did the meta-regression. These people are very tough. But the conclusion is there was no significant difference between. Say now, really, what is this? So the message here is, please, this is a 2x2 table. And there are 2 columns. The column on the left has the intervention arm. The one on the right has the outcome. You're getting me? And there are 2 types of intervention. There are those who received MV, which is malaria vaccine, and the expanded program on immunization. Those are 300. Then there are those who received the standard of care alone. Okay? This is expanded program on immunization, you know, polio and so on, you know. And now the outcomes are on the right. So nobody told me outcome, but you are saying PICO and those kind of things, which is okay. It's true, but you must be precise. In systematic reviewing, must be precise, right? Clear. And clear reporting is fundamental. So death in 3 years was 4% when the malaria vaccine was introduced. Death in 3 years was 12% among, say, these children before the malaria vaccine was introduced, or in the group that received malaria vaccine. So back to the question, does malaria vaccine reduce risk of death?
Systematic reviews and meta-analyses work.
Let's get an online answer.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Based on
the answer is yes.
Yes, it
does
does.
malaria vaccine
Yes, sir.
reduce risk of death?
Yes, sir.
The answer
Yes.
is yes. How many are saying yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So the ayes have it. How many are saying
Yes.
no? You see the no.
Yes, it
How many are not
reduces.
saying anything? The majority. And you can see democracy is dangerous. This majority here may say nothing, I don't know, nothing, do nothing, and just, anyway. So the answer is yes, it seems so. That's what you wanted to say. I think you gave them a good lunch. Give them good lunch. Yeah? But results bounded by an equal distribution of a risk factor. Is someone trying to teach? Please go ahead. Oh, let's mute so that I talk and finish. Otherwise,
no.
So in the intervention arm, which received the new intervention, you can see there were risk factors. One, malnutrition was 20% in that group. Okay? And HIV was 1%. So really, they were generally healthier. In arm 2, malnutrition was what? 50%. HIV was 10%. Back to the question. Does malaria vaccine reduce the risk of death?
No.
How many say yes?
No.
How many say no?
No.
How many say? How many don't know what's going on?
Not really.
How many
According to confounded factors, no.
We can't say. Has not been really tested as far as this research is concerned.
I mean, it has not been tested. Yes.
And someone, if young, I want you to deal with the responses during this session. So Deborah, you can type your response because we are receiving poor feedback. Any other person put up your hand, please, if you have a comment. Davidson, Sahar, Ifeoma, do you have any comments? Yeah, Nafisa, please go ahead.
Hi. Actually, it is not easy to say yes or no because you cannot just rely on what you are seeing now because we don't know like what are the objectives. Did they cover all the risk factors or only these risk factors or confounding factors in the other table has been covered?
Thank you. Nafisa, I've given you the second slide. How would you answer the question then? That is the second slide. The distribution of risk factors, malnutrition and HIV in the two arms. Maybe in the next time I'll add a column to show the outcomes. Nafisa, do you want to change your mind? Do you want to, or any other person? Yes, let's have Davidson and then Akaka. Davidson, are you there? Okay, let's
I'm there. I'm here. Davidson is here. What I can say from this table is that the allotment into intervention, the tutorial, I think there's bias in it because of the increased number of HIV, people with HIV in the standard treatment, and also increased number of malnutrition, people with malnutrition in the standard treatment. So there's bias in the allotment. Had it been the allotment was not biased, they have equal numbers, we would have said that at least there's a decrease. But whether it's significant is what I don't know because I haven't seen a table that where it was tested.
Okay, many people have the p-value. Akaka, it's your turn.
Yeah, I think in the table 1, when we look at table 1, it was talking about the malaria vaccine can reduce the risk of death. So which means the death which was in the table 1, they were not death because of malaria, if you look at table 2. So that is the comparison I look at. The deaths were in table 1, but the cause were not known, the risk factor. So the risk factor for the death in table 1, which has been HIV and malnutrition, indicate that it was not because of the malaria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for those guys. They have really done us wonderful. They have talked about risk factors. Someone talked about allotment. Okay, but now in my class, you have to talk the proper technical terms, because there's allocation concealment. So if you say allotment, you may confuse the readers. Maybe you can say distribution. Distribution, okay? But the point, we get it. You know, we are Africans and English is a third language. Okay? Yeah, so that's okay. But that's the point. There are comorbidities, HIV, which could have driven. So someone mentioned bias. Another one said risk factors. May I ask, what type of bias is this? Please talk confidently, especially when you are going to say the wrong answer. Yes. What? Wonderful. Selection bias. What do you mean by selection bias? You see, we better know one bias very well than to know 6 badly or not to know them. Yes? Yes.
Can we say that the population lacks heterogeneity?
Yes, it is even more complicated, and that must be a Nigerian. The English, I'm not discriminating. I hope it's not taken in, but my Nigerian friends in the IHV, I used to work for Institute of Virology. Yeah, and we had
The bias can also come from the sampling.
The sampling. All those things are true, but when I'm marking and you are postgraduate, how many of you are postgraduate? Yes, when you're postgraduate, I reduce the marks because you have not talked about it scientifically. You've talked about it like we are in a drinking joint. The bias in the population. Very educated. Now, we are moving beyond education. Selection bias. You are selecting these participants and distributing them to either the intervention or the control. You want to achieve similarity by age, by gender. I know some of you wanted to say sex, I've said it, but by gender, by income status, by other risk factors or confounders. Yes? What is a confounder? You write it down, otherwise you may spend the whole afternoon disagreeing. What is a confounder? Can
I ask a question?
Yes, answer it.
No, I want to ask a question.
Yes, ask it.
Okay. Can you introduce 2x2 table without giving us the odds ratio and then the risk ratio? Because that will inform judgment.
Yes. We can go further with this debate, and that is the purpose of this slide. To just tease you, to make you think about biases, and to see, I probe, checking for understanding. Yeah? We always check as teachers, as if these people really understood, or they will go and say, I attended a course at the IDI. What about systematic use? So what is the selection bias? It is bias in the population. Say, he read it in the newspaper. So, does malaria vaccine reduce risk of bias? Are there confounding factors? Why? Make an association triangle. The study factor or the intervention in malaria vaccine. The outcome is death. There were confounding factors, and that was HIV and malnutrition. So what is a confounder, by the way? What is a confounder? Go ahead. It's a variable. It's a what? Now I've given you half a mark. You see how we mark? Go ahead.
Yeah, so a confounder is a variable which affects our independent variable, and it affects the outcome.
Okay. Go ahead. So it is a third factor. It is a what? You see, they are now agreeing with me, as if we ate lunch together. Okay. One more response. Let's have a lady. Okay, let's have this gentleman. He's very gentle. He's in a tie, man. He's in a tie in this African weather.
A third variable that it can contaminate the intervention and the outcome.
It can contaminate the intervention and the outcome. Okay, it is related to the study factor, and it affects the cigarette smoking, taking alcohol, and coffee, and the cancer. Having money, having no money, and trying to get a girlfriend. Okay, it can be confounded. So these are examples of study designs. Okay? What study designs do you know? Any study designs quickly? Quickly? Any that you know? Study design, yes. Cross-sectional study design, yes. What is here, the joke? Yes. Randomized control trial, yes. Sorry? Huh? Cohort studies, yes. Ethnography, now that's qualitative, yes. Case control, yes. Okay, you know all of them. But let's now have a concept. How do we think through them? And I would like to, are you taking away these slides? They are for free, by the way. You may be having better ones, but these are Africanized. Okay, let's go ahead. Did the investigator assign the intervention or the exposure? This is a question you must ask. If it is yes, then it is an experiment. If it is no, then you are observing. By the way, you know you can observe an experiment happening. Isn't it? Like the election observers. They observe, take notes, and conclude it was free and fair. And then after 2 days, the army says it was a real-time experiment. We are tired of France. Okay. So if it's an experimental study, how did you assign? How did you assign what? The intervention. How did you assign the what? Participants to either intervention, control. If you did it by purely random processes, then it is a what? It's a what? A randomized control trial. It does not have to be a medicine. It doesn't have to be a vaccine. It doesn't have to be a medical device. It can be done in education. Agricultural interventions can be randomized among farmers, farmer field schools. Okay? Different interventions of youth employment and women empowerment can be randomized. How to campaign. I was reading a book, Votes, Guns, and Electoral Processes in Africa, by an economist. And he said there are ways you can randomize to test which campaign strategy works. And they were doing it in Nigeria, and they were showing that. I don't know that it was cooked, but it was there. Okay, so pretty much anything can be done in a randomized fashion. If you have not randomized, it's called a non-randomized control trial. Let's move to the right, observational study. Does it have a comparison group? No. So that is what? Descriptive. Does it have a comparison group? Yes. That is analytical. Give me examples of analytical observational study. Yes. Yes, please. Is there a break tea? Go ahead. A cohort. Which cohort? Yes, it has to be a cohort analytic study. There's a cohort observation. People who worked in a certain factory, and you just follow them up. Okay? And look out for specific outcomes. What other design? Common. Yes. Case control is really a very good one. Very good example of an observational analytic study. What other common one? Cross-sectional, analytic, or analytical, or cross-sectional, descriptive. So don't say, mine was a cross-sectional study. Please, try to improve it. Then there is one they call quasi-experiment. Controlled before and after studies. Interrupted time series designs, like this one. You can see. There's the before period, then you introduce the intervention, then there's the after period. Okay? And a very good example is this study by Abeyasinghe, RR, published in 2012 about the elimination of malaria in Sri Lanka. It started in 1911, and by 2011, they had taken about 10 years with very low levels of malaria, nearly nothing. And their intervention is there. Okay? First anti-malarial drug in 1911. 1921, appointment of first malariologist. DDT was there in 1940s. Yes, 1946. Then, Artemisinin Global Fund to fight HCV and malaria was introduced around about 2004. Then by 2007, the mass distribution of artemisinin combination therapy. Then you can see how the The devastating malaria epidemic was in 1935. Then DDT brought it down, 1953. Then there was a comeback in the 75s. Yes? There was DDT resistance in 69. So these are interrupted time series designs, okay? And we shall show you, and that is the graph. That is the graph in the recent years. So what is bias? Imagine we have just started. We're just in the preamble. Preamble. What is bias? That guy is biased against me. Can you imagine in the morning, even he was saying I was dressed in a purple shirt. He's biased, that guy. Can you imagine? So what is bias? Yes. But you use the microphone. There are guys online. We need to, let's have one response from here, then we go online. Yes, what is bias?
I think bias is the tendency to lean towards a certain side or opinion, or to choose something.
I am biased. I am
biased.
I am leaning. So I am biased.
Oh, not like that, Prof.
Oh, okay. You know, I thought, who is the camera person? You should have taken me leaning. And this would have been amongst the best photos. You know what I mean? Unbiased photos. But I am leaning. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yes. You know what I'm saying? I want you to talk scientifically. Let's go online. Let's have Oscar. Oscar, what is bias? Bias. Oscar, what is bias?
I think it's the personal opinion apart from scientific opinion when you deviated from the truth.
Yes, he has mentioned two things. One, he has said personal opinion, which is the political bias. But then he quickly realized and came and said, scientifically, deviation from
the truth.
That's where we have started answering. The other one was still on the political bias or the bias of politics. Okay? I see Abebe. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, bias is a systematic error normally. It is a systematic, a deliberate deviation from the reality or from random occurrence of an event.
Thank you very much.
A systematic error.
Thank you very much. Salamna? Abebe Salamna? Okay. So he has added that aspect of systematic as opposed to what? Even when the answer is on the, you cannot become confident enough to push your diaphragm and say random, but this is there. Okay. So moving forward, any systematic error in the design and conduct of a study, which results in conclusions that are different from the truth. And therefore you underestimate or overestimate the true measure of effect. What are measures of effect? As this work is, so Temitope, what are measures of effect? Temitope or Paleye? Online. Okay. You know, this Zoom classes, someone may be there, but not there. Oh, Temitope is there. Please go ahead.
All right, you've answered the question. I mean, I said it's deviation from what it ought to be. No, not following the step that one ought to take.
Thank you. The add-on question was, what are examples of the measures of effect? Temitope, do you have examples? Or she's gone already? Any person here?
Effect.
It's the outcome value that the
random effect,
such as prevalence.
Such as prevalence. Okay.
Okay, you're talking about random effects.
No. What is a measure of effect? What is that outcome? How are outcome variables measured? It can be a prevalence, which is what? Mathematically, is what? Is a proportion percentage. Yes. What are the others? Odds ratio. The other one is risk ratio. The other one is mean difference. The other one is risk difference. And the other one? Mean, mode, average. Even mean and average have become different, but it's okay. Median, isn't it? Those are measures of effect. And you may overestimate the difference in means or the odds ratios, or you may underestimate because of, so there are three comrades you must pay attention to when you are doing your studies. One is bias. The next one is, what are those three elements you must pay attention to strongly? One is bias. When you are doing any study, the other one is, a study is about generating the truth. The more information there is, the more truth. So the second one is sample size. The bigger the better. But if you exceed, every p-value will be significant. I did a study where we had a large sample size and everything was significant. I said, we are really finding many things, only to discover that all variables was given. Said, now we must adjust. Bonferroni correction and so on. The third one is what? If you are testing something, you need to avoid bias. You need a large sample size, fairly large, and then you need, if you are testing something, you need, not confounder, you need the appropriate test. You need to compare. So when my colleague tells you that COVID-X is working, compare to what? So COVID-X was a discovery during COVID. It was a herbal discovery during COVID. And there were claims that COVID-X compared to nothing. So these are the types. What types of bias do you know now? We said selection bias. Online people, can you join me, Ifeoma? Any type of bias that you know, Ifeoma? Hey, by the way, I see response. Edith, please go ahead. But if young, you're not helping me. COVID-X compared to alcohol, to access the lesson as password, confounder. Okay, let's go ahead. Sampling bias, recall bias, COVID-X bias. Nafisa, any or Alex, anything? Edith? This man is interrupting me in the middle of the meal. It is any other information bias, outlier bias, language bias, selection bias, measurement bias. All types, you're all correct. Yes, you want to say something, Feoma? Nancy? Edith? Alex? Anything?
Measurement bias.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Interviewer bias, reporting bias, selection bias.
I was saying information bias, especially non-differential and differential misclassification and information bias. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Recall back, you've named all of them. You've named all of them. So here in the Cochrane tool, which we are using, we have the selection bias, performance bias, attrition bias, detection bias, and reporting bias. Or you can say bias during selection. And basically, this is bias when you are identifying who to include and who not to include in the study. Okay? There is performance bias. This one is typical in an intervention study. You are giving a drug, okay? How you give that drug, okay? What else is given in addition to that drug, including what the patient is taking, and you don't know. Some patients will never leave their herbs, okay? Whether you give the antimalarial injection and so on, okay? Some patients may be in the trial arm, which is taking oral medicines, and in the evening, they go to the nearest nurse for an injection. So those may affect what is going on. Attrition bias is when we lose people along the way. Okay? We lose people along the way. isn't it? You started the other study 300 per arm, the malaria study, then you end up with 200, yeah, in one arm and 250 in another. There is an equal distribution. Or they may just be a sheer reduction by over 20%. So attrition bias over 20% is substantial. We pay attention to it. Okay? Overall loss of population size. If you're 600, 10% is 60. If you lose 120, you know that study, the evidence from there cannot be trusted. You no longer have the power. That's why we say they has been calculated to have a power of 80% to detect any difference if it exists, or 90%. You get what I mean? So depending on how you've calculated your power, you need to understand how much of it you can lose. Detection bias is your measurement bias. Okay? Your ability to see whether the patient has experienced the outcome or not. Okay? And then reporting bias is the political bias. You report your opinion. If you found that the primary outcome was not interesting, you look for a tertiary outcome and make it the headline of the paper, and forget that you actually published a protocol, and we'll be looking at the primary outcome and saying you did not complete the study properly. Any questions around the types of biases? Anything that is not clear that you may want me to explain, please take a microphone for the benefit of those online. There are 2 hands raised. Let's start with Oscar Vetsi, then we go to Abebe. Any question?
Oscar, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Please, the word bias is being used. We have a lot of them, like recall bias and those things. I want to find out, in the subject of systematic review, are we only limited to these very ones you've enumerated here, or we can go beyond this level, sir?
Very important question, Oscar. You know, systematic reviews can be applied to any type of study. In which type of study, Oscar, do we experience recall bias? Can you give him the microphone? Time up. The guy was warning me that, my friend, you have talked too much. In what types of study? Give him the mic, please. Yes, him. No, he had a, yes.
It's in case controls.
Case control study. Why? Because they have to recall, okay, what they ate, how they ate it. However, what does that affect? What does recall bias affect in a case control study? Because a case control, you start with the outcome. And you're looking for risk factors of the, so the recall bias, what does it affect? Exposures. So what type of bias is that? Selection bias. Because if they talk a lot about what they ate, yeah, which they didn't eat, then the distribution will be deviated from the truth at the level of the exposure. So when you're running a comparison, they are selected against or for the recall. You are getting me? This is that point I say we shall read later. Because I also have a task to finish. And my wife is waiting. You see what I'm saying? That is now the reality check. But, Oscar, just to answer your question, these are the main types of biases, and nearly all of them, yes, for interventional studies. Whether these studies are in agriculture, whether these studies are in education, whether these studies are in health. Bias during selection of participants. Bias in performance. Now here is where you can have information bias. What the patients tell you. What the physicians or the nurses give the patients. If you're in farmer field schools, how the intervention is administered. Okay? And then attrition bias is lost to follow up. Selection bias can also happen, okay, in form of non-response bias. You know what I mean? At the time of interviewing, every man who is old cannot respond because you are using TikTok to collect the data. And no old man of my age who was born in the time of African coups. There was an outbreak of coups. Now there's an outbreak of what? Of Ebola and so on. But in the 70s, there was an outbreak of coups. Nearly every country was experiencing a coup. That's when I was born. Now if you bring me on TikTok where there's an outbreak of democracy, I may not be able to answer because I was born during the coup. See what I mean? So there can be a selection bias because of how you have decided to collect the data. Non-response, they will not respond to email. But if you go and interview them, they will fill up full scopes and full scopes and full scopes of your writing. 1 hour of interview. So they will be excluded at the time of selection into the study, selection bias, in observational studies. How is selection bias happening in experimental studies? Abebe, can we go back to Abebe? Abebe, what was your question?
Yeah, my question is, is this classification of bias comprehensive? Because usually we see selection bias, information bias, and the confounding bias as broader classification.
Yes.
And what do you comment on that kind of classification? That's one that I have. And the second one is about sample size. Sample size, we determine the minimum using different formula, but if you go larger, p-value becomes significant, you said. That is good. What is the optimum size that we can go beyond that minimum to avoid this wrong significance in statistics?
Now, you want me to tell you my secret of statistics 101, but I'm going to take this back to you on the statistics question, then we go back to the bias question. I hope I won't be biased in my response. Now, there is what we call, this one you must write down, information size. Optimal information size. Optimal information size comes from two things. Abebe, what two things do you think you can get information from a study, an intervention study, which is testing COVID vaccine? What two things do you need to obtain information which is really trusted? Abebe, the first call is on you. Let's think together.
Okay, so COVID vaccine, it depends on the type of studies that we designed. Are we checking how effective the vaccine is?
Ideal study, randomized controlled trial to test if the adenovector COVID vaccine manufactured by Oxford, otherwise called AstraZeneca, is better than placebo or nothing. What two pieces of information do you need to make conclusion that is valid? That is what we call optimal information size.
Okay.
One is what? You mentioned it, you talked about it. The first one is? You asked for minimum, maximum. The first one is sample size. So the teacher is the problem. The student can never be the problem. Because I've asked the question badly, clearly, because there is no answer. So the first one is sample size. And what sample size is enough? Abebe, what sample size is said to be enough?
The sample size that we determine using existing statistical calculation for the sample size, considering all possible assumptions.
Yes. What is that important assumption? Now we are really opening the chicken and going for the gizzard.
Okay, so what is the power of estimations that we want to deal with, and the level of confidence that we need?
No. Just stop there. Just stop there. The power. The most important thing is, what power do you want to detect it? 80%, 90%? Yeah?
Usually we go for 80%, and if you go higher,
and
that will be better.
99%. So if you have 90% power, will you have a bigger sample size or a smaller sample size?
Well, power is directly proportional to sample size, and we need larger sample size.
Exactly. So what is the maximum sample size that is allowed? It is 99.99% power.
Okay.
And what is the minimum acceptable?
That will be at
0% power. No study. Okay. But we have agreed that starting from 80%, yeah, because it also has implications on costs, how long you will take, isn't it? Me, I want 90% power when I'm the study coordinator, so that my salary is there for 5 years, looking for patients who are not there. Yes?
Yeah.
But 80% power, the study will end quickly. How will I take care of my wife, take her to the saloon and things like that? These factors are the most important person in your life. Must be your wife, if you're a man, so that other things move well. Now, the other thing is, apart from sample size, what is the other thing? The what? No, not level of significance. Where you obtain information. If the intervention is COVID-19 vaccine, the outcome is death. Because during COVID, nobody wanted to die. And therefore, that was the most critical outcome, isn't it? People are dying. And we have discovered the COVID vaccine. We know that in order to prove that it works, we must test in 10,000 people for 80% power. So we have tested. We have the optimal information size from the sample size. There is something else that must happen for us to be able to conclude and make all of these other calculations in that study. They must experience they must experience the outcome. People must die for you to be able to calculate the odds ratio and the risk ratio. If an outcome is not experienced, how will you estimate in your 2x2 table when there is 0 in one cell? Go and read the 3 Cochrane rules of the 2x2 table. Okay? So optimal information size comes from the sample size, the N, and also the event rate, what they call the baseline risk. Very, very important concepts in systematic reviewing, especially meta-analysis. Many of you will go into the software and you plug in something. When you bring it for peer review and you find a first-year master's student, you will say, very good. You find a professor in life sciences, say, very good. You find an ordinary guy in systematic review, say, hopeless. Because optimal information size has not been considered. Event rates, sample size. There has to be a certain minimum number of people to die for you to calculate a trustworthy measure of effect comparing the COVID intervention to nothing. And this is a vaccine. So that's your answer to the sample size. Your answer to bias, yes, there are various ways of looking at bias depending on the subject. But if we are talking about randomized controlled trials, particularly in health, these are the 6. The 7th one is bias arising from conflict of interest, which is also a reporting bias in some way. Because once industry pays you, you will report that Tamiflu works, when in fact it does not work. And you make billions of dollars for Roche Pharmaceuticals, who marketed Tamiflu because all the experts had said that it works. And when systematic reviewers from the Cochrane collaboration came about, they discovered Tamiflu was no better than Panadol. But the US government had spent $1.5 billion hoarding Tamiflu, expecting an outbreak of SARS-CoV-1. Are you seeing why systematic reviewers are the Jesus Christ of science? Because they are the ones who blew out that syndicate. Now I've started preaching. Let's go ahead.
Thank you.
You should have said hallelujah or Allahu Akbar. What is risk of bias? Risk of bias is the extent to which bias is responsible for the findings or the result of the primary studies, of the findings of the result. By the way, I'm going to give you one which does not have or shortcomings. So where is risk of bias? What is risk of bias? What is risk of bias? Where is this? What is this one? This for the findings or result. Okay, no, it's fine. It was fine. I was preaching and not saying the words properly. The word. Okay. So we are interested in eliciting the flaws or shortcomings in the methodology, which may have pushed the effect estimate away from the truth. We have discussed this. The question that you ask, should I believe the result? By the way, scientists make genuine mistakes, but scientists also can make deliberate mistakes. You know that? And publish papers to get promoted. Kumbe, they have cooked. And only if you understand risk of bias and bias, will you be able to interpret for yourself whether to trust that result and use that intervention for your patient. Understanding risk of bias is very good in saving the life of the patient, right? But also saving that life in the extent of harm. You know, drugs are harmful. N of 1 trials have been done. Monoclonal antibodies, pop, you inject, the guy after 5 minutes dies. Okay? Very risky. Let's move on. What is risk of bias assessment? This is the assessment of the quality of the primary or individual studies to be included in the systematic review. You're looking at the design, the conduct, the analysis, and reporting, and saying, can I trust that they designed it well? Right from the protocol. Can I trust that they actually did it well, the performance of it? When they were doing the statistical analysis, did they do a multivariable regression before they tell me age is an independent risk factor for death? Or diabetes is an independent risk factor for dying from COVID? And then reporting biases. Are there things that they hit, like in the Tamiflu case, where the industry, Roche Pharmaceuticals, had hidden information on the adverse events? You are looking for characteristics that may reduce the risk of systematic error or deviation from the true effect. You want to see, did the study attempt to reduce the risk of bias? This is a source of evidence. You have expert opinion down there. Jesus Christ is coming next week. This is an expert, my friend. You better believe it. Okay? Or a certain intervention works. Please come and take this concoction of mine. Your diabetes will disappear. Or your HIV result will turn negative and you can go for the visa test. You're getting me? Then the next level in this hierarchy is case series, case control, cohort, RCTs, systematic reviews. What defines this hierarchy? Any response? What defines this hierarchy? Related to our subject today. What defines this hierarchy? That systematic reviews are the top of the hierarchy, systematic review of RCTs, and at the bottom is expert opinion. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, the topmost in the hierarchy, which is systematic reviews, has a rigorous method to evaluate for bias.
Thank you so much. That is half an answer, but I shall take it this afternoon, given that you ate carbohydrate. Yes. Yes, Abebe, go ahead. Abebe, go ahead.
Some answers already.
Yes, read the answers. But are you communicating with them so that online they are hearing? Yes, what are those answers, please?
Yeah, you know, this is hierarchy of evidence, which depends on the strengths of study designs.
Where is cross-sectional study in your design? Methodology used, the reduction. So my table is biased already.
Cross-sectional study is below case control studies, actually.
Yes and no. But it is about.
In fact, it depends on the research questions that we use, because there are research questions which cannot be addressed by case control, but by cross-sectional studies.
So I would put case control and cross-sectional studies about the same. About the same.
Yeah.
So, but this is just a depiction. So I've seen the answers there. They are very good answers. I will read some of them. Presence of control. Where's the cross-sectional study? Methodology used. At the top, there's reducing risk of bias. Quality of evidence. Wonderful. He was on during the break before it started. Can't see him. He was alive at Marquee video camera. See what's there. Ah, okay, fine. Those answers are also the reality of remote learning. Sometimes you text and you don't know you have not texted to the person. You have texted to the group. Darling, how are you? Your smile is fine. So we'll move on. It is, yes, one more answer.
Yeah, I think also the fact that systematic reviews pull evidence from so many sources.
Yes.
I just conducted one, and the study with the largest sample size was 150 and the smallest was 10.
Yes.
The total sample size I got after polling studies was 1,000
yes.
and 110.
Wonderful.
So I look at this as being more, being stronger.
Thank you. Thank you. He has really gone to the beyond even the gizzard. You know those lines around the gizzard? I've eaten gizzard properly. Those of you eat chicken, you can remove that skin like this. But may I tell my wife, don't remove it. It's bitter. I want to. Yeah. To eat the thing, I throw the thing like this, my friend. So the hierarchy is such that, yes, go ahead. You have one question.
Yes.
Yes.
If we say that the bias reduces up to systematic reviews, and yet in systematic reviews, we're using primary studies, which might have been biased. So how does the bias now all of a sudden disappear?
You're trying to say that bias can be sexually transmitted. Okay. I know what you're saying. And she has an important point. That, and I will come to that. I will come to your point. What's your name, by the way?
Shally.
Shally.
Yeah.
I like your hair. I'm going to remember it when I... So now, but she has a valid point. It is scientific in nature, even if I'm mixing it up with other things. Let's remain focused. So the idea is that expert opinion is at the base of the pyramid of bias. You know what I mean? It has more bias at the base. Supposing there is a pyramid of bias, and at the tip there is less bias. At the tip we have systematic reviews of RCTs. At the bottom we have purely expert opinion. And in between we have observational studies. Higher we have experimental studies. The assumption here is that all of them are well conducted. Even if all of them are well conducted, rigorously conducted, and they give results, they'll be different because of bias. So if you rigorously conduct your expert opinion study, can you do that? But we are saying nowadays, we are saying that if there is expert opinion, it can help in interpreting and reduce bias through that hierarchy. You're getting me? Now, what Shally is saying, I will show you the picture down. Garbage in, if you have studies which have a high risk of bias, and you include them into the systematic review, then your conclusions will have a high risk of bias. Is there evidence to support why we should do risk of bias? Studies which were not blinded overestimated the measure of effect by 17% in this systematic review by Schulz and others. You are getting me? Schulz compared an intervention and looking at the outcomes. And he realized studies whose interventions were not blinded. You get in a clinical trial, you know, blinding, yeah? Using placebo and so they sometimes call it masking, yeah? Overestimated by nearly 20%, 1 in 5. Then allocation concealment, which is part of randomization. Allocation concealment, when you have generated this, the code, you know that code which tells you the next patient is going to this study arm of COVID. The next patient is going to the control arm. That code there, that code, initially it used to be written and printed. Nowadays you can do it real time on computer, okay? That code, if it is concealed, well and good. If it is not concealed, don't trust nurses when they open. If the patient is due for operation, we did a randomized control trial here with a medical student. It was a cardiothoracic randomized control trial. And the hypothesis was there was no difference between closing the chest wound after patent ductus arteriosus surgery with a drain compared to no drain. A drain is just putting that casting there. Forget the patent ductus arteriosus. I wanted to wake you up. Say, what is this guy saying? Say heart defect. You get me? And the envelope, the sealed envelope was opened by the study nurse after the surgeon had opened the chest to do the repair. At the time of closing, you open the envelope. So should he put a drain or not? Imagine a surgeon has caused an injury there, and there's going to be a lot of effusion of the wound in the chest, and you unleash the cord, and the cord is saying you are not going to put a drain. How many surgeons will want to risk to be accused of negligence in case the patient has problems because of the study? You know what I mean? Allocation has to be concealed. Otherwise, the surgeon, once he opens for himself, will put it back and pick the other envelope. Say, oh yeah, this one is drain. Put a drain. You are getting me? That's what allocation concealment means. It is not blinding. Allocation concealment is a post-randomization effect. Blinding is a pre-randomization. So let's go ahead. So now we are going to say that there are numerous tools. One of them is the Cochrane risk of bias tool. Gentlemen, even if you're in agriculture, please borrow the Cochrane risk of bias tool. There are various versions. There is one called Robbins. Where are we writing? Where are we writing? I feel like writing. Please, this one you are going to read. You must read because this time is bad. Yes, Robbins. Are they seeing me?
Yeah.
Yes. But is there some sort of what is this? What is this here? No, there's something obstructing. Oh, it's the TV. Oh, that can change. But I hope they can see. Here they can see better. Oh, but you guys can't. So there's one called Robbins. Yeah? Risk of bias. Then this is called, there's Robbins I, and then Robbins E for observational studies. E stands for, and this one, interventions. And these are non-randomized studies. Eh? So this would be, what would this be? Yes, for exposures. And this for interventions. Eh? It's called the Robbins tool. So that you're going to read that. But I'm going to give you the principles this afternoon. Now, risk of bias is not necessarily the same as critical appraisal. Critical appraisal tools, CASP, and so on, may not necessarily assess risk of bias. Or reporting standards, like, sorry, let me say that again. Reporting tools may not necessarily assess for risk of bias, okay? And their reporting tools are the consort statement, the STAD statement for diagnostic studies, the consort statement for randomized control study, and so on. Cochrane has sequence generation, allocation concealment, blinding, this. What am I saying? This is a Cochrane risk of bias tool, and it looks at 6 aspects. How do you generate the sequence when you are randomizing? How do you allocate? How do you blind the participants, personnel, and outcomes? Incomplete outcome data. Selective outcome reporting. Let us open. Where is that exercise, bro? I'm opening the exercise. Can you open your exercise? Can you, each one of you open your exercise? Since it is adult learning, will give you the advantage of marking yourself. But please make sure you show your girlfriend how you performed, because she'll be the best marker. Say, darling, you didn't know allocation of concealment. I will conceal you. So let's go to this study. Let's go to this study. Now, I will assume all of you, or most of you, have read the study. Now, this one is hands-on. And for some of you, please forgive me. I'm that swimming instructor who this afternoon is taking you to the deep end and tell you that I'm waiting for you at the shallow end. You may be seeing this thing for the first time, but learning is iterative. We'll meet again in another course, and you'll remember to forget, or you'll forget not to remember. But let's start with this domain. So we have a domain on the left, we have a judgment to make, and we have the description. Yes. Oh, I was talking to myself. No wonder the response was not coming out well. Are we together now? I'm so sorry for that. Are we together? Online class? Online class, are we together? Yes, and we are still at 298. Thank you very much. Oh, where's YouTube? I was not seeing responses on YouTube. Okay. Now, the first, so there are 3 columns. On the left, we have the domain, which is the type of bias we are going to look at. And it's domain-based. Then the judgment we make is the risk of bias high? Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Is the risk of bias, those are the 3 options. When risk of bias is high, is that a good thing or a bad thing? What is it, my dear? Bad, I could read your lips. It's a bad thing. If the risk of bias is low, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a very good thing. It's what? Because the risk is low. We don't say bias is there or bias is not there. We assess the risk of bias given the information reported to us by the researchers. Are you seeing how researchers are powerful? They can withhold information. You are getting me? So did you read anything about selection bias? Did you identify any aspect of selection bias in the paper of using honey for wound healing? Anything to do with selection bias? Which page? Responses. Responses. How many filled in that? Something about selection bias. Did you? How many read the paper? How many read the paper? Whether quickly, partially, fully. How many opened it? Okay, how many saw the title of the paper? But how many saw the paper? How many knew the paper was there? How many read the paper?
There are so many hands online.
The online people are very. Thank you so much for these online people. Please remain online. Let me deal with the online audience. They make me happy. Their hands are yellow. Do you know what yellow means in Uganda? It's the political party. So anyway, so they are not about to ban our gathering online because we are all saluting the yellow party. Only that we are not raising the thumb. That is okay. Now, adequate sequence generation. Temitope, did you find anything to say about adequate sequence generation? Or Sahar, Simeone, people who haven't spoken? Unmute and say, was there anything to do with selection bias that you saw in the paper?
No,
Yes.
there is no bias. It was, according to it, it's randomized, double-blinded controlled trials. So,
okay,
it's randomized.
Yes, I saw. For me, I saw something on permutation, on a permuted blocking. Sorry, on permuted sequencing.
Okay. Okay. Good. Who else? Sehar, let's have Sehar, and then we will have Henry.
Yes, I did not see the selection process, though they explain what they are looking for, but I did not see how they now selected their participants.
Okay. You
I
can
also
type
think there is no much bias in the selection because apart from other things, the other thing that could have introduced the selection, like excluding the part of the body, the wound will be difficult to measure, infection and all those things. I think they mentioned that they did not put those ones so in their selection.
Sehar, we are waiting for Sehar the Great. Emeda, Nafisa, Mike is yours. Then Temitope, then we conclude and come to class here.
As I said, it's sorry.
Go ahead, Nafisa, it's your turn.
Okay. It's as I said, maybe you don't hear me, but it's randomized, double-blind controlled trials. Participant was I don't know. It's double-blinded, so there is nothing here I can say in generations or sequence generations. So there is no bias.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sehar or Abdul Ganiyu. Abdul Ganiyu. Sehar is quiet. Kazim, Abdul Ganiyu, we're
Thank
waiting.
you, sir, for the presentation. I think there is a kind of low bias, but in the selection aspect, because the shallow, or I mean, the level of the wound is also part of the bias. Then the selection, or I mean, the selection of the kind of the honey content that is needed for the trial is also part of it. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody who wants to say anything from class here? Please, I'm eating fruits here. Don't look at me with bias.
Yes, there was some risk of bias because after allocating some people, the rest were approximately balanced.
Let's clap for her. She said, she used the word risk of bias. Please, Nafisa and all those previous people who responded in class, we are assessing risk of, we are not assessing bias. We are unable to play God. But given the information we have, we are assessing the opportunity, the chance that perhaps this paper is not telling the truth. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So we are assessing the risk like a campaign promise. There's always a risk it will not be fulfilled after the election. No picking phone calls and so on. You are getting? So what is the chance? What's the opportunity that in conducting this study, comparing honey to gel in treating wounds, looking at the outcome of healing, what is the chance that actually, when they were selecting the participants, they were not evenly distributed when it comes to numbers, sheer numbers? How many numbers are there in the right arm and the left arm, or the intervention arm and the intervention? In respect to age, did they select very old people in one group or very young people? With respect to confounders, like HIV, were there more HIV positive people on one side or the other? With respect to nutritional status, you know that a person who is not healthy or is malnourished, the wound will take long to heal anyway. So are there more people who are malnourished in the honey group or in the gel group? You are getting me? These are the things that you look at to make a conclusion, yeah, on selection bias, isn't it? However, there are methods which are known to distribute people, subjects, or units of analysis. Yes, it can be a district. You know, sometimes you're doing a study at district level, or village, or classroom, or pupils, or farmers, or women in an intervention group of women savings groups, for example. How will you distribute them evenly? And this is where we come in. Sequence generation. So is the sequence referring to a random number table? Did you see any random number table there? Did you see a random number table? No. Did they toss a coin? Did they draw lots? Did they minimize? Did they shuffle cards? Did they use a computer? All of these are methods which are thought to do what? To have a less risk of. And if they used an odd or even date or convenient sampling, those who came on Tuesday, we gave them honey. Those who came on Wednesday, we gave them gel. Odd or even date of birth. Alternate allocation. That is the criteria for high risk of bias. Okay? The criteria for low risk of bias is random number tables, computer-generated sequences. Okay? So, unclear is when there is no information. Very dangerous situation. So what does the paper say in terms of sequence generation? What does the paper say? Let's look for random in the paper. So where is it? Page what? Stratified randomization. And they say, enrolled subjects were stratified by wound type, HIV status, and presence of slough. Then randomized using random permuted blocks of size 10. What is the key word there? Please, I'm taking you back to the PowerPoint. We are now in the heat of learning. What is the key word there? Random. So what is the risk of bias? High or low? Low. Using random permuted blocks of size 10. And they have even given you the answer. To produce approximately equal numbers in each treatment group and an approximate balance of the 3 possible prognostic factors. What are they talking about? Randomization and selection bias here. Alison, should I close the class? Okay, can you stand up and I show you something? Even those on Zoom, stand up. Yes, I'm seeing Alpha Umaru is standing up. Very good. Can you stand up? Do this. You know, in systematic reviews, yeah, you can do additive or summative way of meta-analysis. So one, Abebe, stand up, man. One. Are you not seeing me, Abebe, here? One. Plus. Get space now. Get space. One. Equals. Two. Two. Now get space properly. Get space. Two. Plus. Two. Two. Equals. Four. Four. Say four. Four. Plus 4 equals 8. Now, I hope you are fresher. Blood is circulating better. So what are those things that are being balanced? What are those prognostic factors that are being balanced to avoid selection bias? You remember we talked about that 2x2 table with HIV being distributed differently and malnutrition. You remember that table? So what are those factors here? I'm even showing you here, but you are looking at me as if the screen is white. Go ahead. Can you give him the mic, please? Oh, yes, Sahar. Sahar, go ahead. Sorry, we keep missing Sahar.
They're trying to equally distribute potential confounders.
Yes, name them. You are telling me what
For example, HIV status, wound type.
Not for example. Those are the exact ones, not examples. The wound type. Because the type of the wound may be deep. You get? Or shallow. Imagine in the intervention group of honey, there are only deep wounds. And the one of placebo, there are only what? Shallow wounds. Has randomization worked? We must always check for whether randomization has worked, especially in the older papers. The newer papers, they are new technologies. You almost always don't have to check. Where do you check? Where do you check this information of distribution of factors after randomization? Where do you check? Yes? Not the trial. The trial profile is the flow chart. What do you check? It's the first step of results. What does it report? Alison, we are about to close. They call the baseline characteristics, the description of the population. How many were in the honey group? How many were in? They have even told you table 1. I'm asking you which table you're saying. The table is here. The table is here. It was even below. So how many actually read? Adult learning and teaching is by consensus, isn't it? Now you read the bits. That's me, you know, that kind of thing. But the teacher is always paid, whether you understand or not. Highly. You see, even I'm eating fruits. Payment has started. So now, you can see that these are the distribution of numbers. Okay? How many? Total number of enrolled subjects is 87. In the honey group, are you seeing here? Down there. The honey group has 44. The girl group has what? 43. Are you happy about this distribution? Are you happy? But there is one missing. Are you happy? It's okay. You also have to be realistic. Yes? There's no way they are going to distribute half a person. Are you getting me? 2. How much time do you want me to? I can stop even now. I think they have understood. I'm just completing the slides. But they have understood. I can stop now, by the way. They want me to stop in 10 minutes. And I'm very good at following instructions. Because I know starting from the 11th minute, you know, the circadian rhythm, the sleep pattern starts changing after eating carbohydrates. So I'm left with 9 minutes now. So have you understood? Then now you look at the distribution. How many are having HIV? How many are not having HIV? Who has added that up? So in the HIV positive group, in wounds, you see they stratified by HIV and then wound type. Wound type, you can see here, in the slough wounds, there's 2-4, there's a bit of maldistribution there, but 50%, and then here 3-4 almost equal. Here you can see 10-10 almost equal, and then 10-7 almost equal. Here under subjects enrolled, final study group 15-13, in the slough group almost equal, 16-15 there, slough positive 3-5-6-9. If numbers are few, then proportionally the distribution is likely to be skewed, isn't it? And the distribution is also normal, then you start to have to record medians and so on. It's skewed, use what you call non-parametric tests, Wilcoxon and so on. Yeah? Otherwise here you start using t-tests and so on for normal distribution when the sample size is fairly large. So here is where you really see the result of the random sequence generation or the selection. However, the process is assessed by the methods they report. Are we together? But the result must be, you must confirm the process by looking at the result. Let's go back now to the second part. Allocation concealment. So they generated this by random permuted blocks, okay, of 10. How did they conceal allocation? How do you conceal allocation? You have generated the list. How do you conceal that list? What? Yes, please go ahead, Sahel. Go ahead. And I agree with you, sir. I agree, such great presentation. I agree. Blinding. What is it? Okay. Now, blinding is different from allocation concealment, and I set this question at the University of London. And university is cosmopolitan, right? So I set it to see which continent can, anyway. But it is different. There is a distinct line between allocation concealment and blinding. I promised to tell you in the last slide. But let me move faster. So concealment, because I have 9 minutes, my wife is waiting, Alison wants to go, those kinds of things. If you use an open random allocation schedule, if you use date of birth, if you use the case record number, if you use envelopes that are non-opaque and they are unsealed, if you use alternation, then you have not concealed the code. In our study, you can look up Dr. Keba and others in the BMJ. She couldn't believe that we could do a randomized trial here at medical school without resources of the nature of millions of dollars and an infectious disease institute. I told her, no, we can do it. We used sealed, opaque envelopes with instructions to be opened at the time the surgeon has started closing. Because there was high level of equipoise. Equipoise? The highest level of uncertainty of whether an intervention works or not. Is there a political equipoise? So sequentially numbered drug containers. Central allocation, web-based. I was doing the Tibotec trial. We were trying to discover a drug called rilpivirine. I was a study medical officer, small man. But we would enter. The study coordinator would come and enter. It goes to Germany, brings a reply, web-based. There and then you allocate. You get? There is no way you can tamper with that code. So allocation concealment is merely hiding the code so that those who are going to give the actual medicine do not change. That's what allocation concealment is. Different from blinding. Blinding is when, now that I've given you your group and I've given you your medicine, how do I prevent you from knowing what you are taking? How do I prevent your attendant from knowing what you are taking? How do I prevent the one who is going to measure the outcome of interest from knowing what you are taking, including death? Can they change death? unless I'm the devil. Hallelujah. The devil is a liar. Okay. Are we clear? Did they use sequentially numbered envelopes? Did they use central allocation in this paper? They did not. They were not explicit. So what is your answer? No or unclear? Unclear. Because they talked about randomization, so you start suspecting that they're a bit of scientists. Yeah? It may be unfair to say no, but unclear is safe. What does unclear mean? It also means it's unclear. And it's always unclear to me. For the past 10 years, I've been doing reviews. It is unclear up to today. I don't know what it means. I better have a side. But it's a bit better than no. Because no, it is clear there was a flaw. It will look red. So I want to take you here to this paper. I will stop, I think, on this point, where they say using random permuted blocks of 10. Do you know what permuted block means? You remember permutation and combination. You cannot predict the next. So the way the codes are, from every, they randomize within 10. A, B, B, A, C, A, B, like that. You get what I mean? Blocks of 10. They stop there. There are 2. Then they start afresh. The risk of not doing that. So they must make sure there are 5 people in the next 10. There are 5 people. Let me start like this. Let's say the first one, the first patient you can actually allocate in a biased way. Then you know you are left with 9. You get what I mean? Even if the next 4 are A, you know what I mean? The first patient gets honey. Even if the next 4 get honey, the remaining 5 must get girl. That's what they mean by a block of 10. Without a block, you can find that the first, there are how many? 87. The first 40, theoretically speaking, the first 43 can get honey. Then the next 43 get what? Girl. Theoretically speaking. Now, when you say block of 10, it means by the time you reach 10, they must be balanced. 5, 5. That's what they mean. Permuted blocks of what? Permutation means that if the first 2 are honey, the next 3 may be girl. And the next one may still be girl. But it may also be honey, depending on the previous probabilities. Are you seeing what I mean? Because by the time a place is taken, if you assign 1 in a block of 10, the chance of getting A, let's say honey now, it will be 5 honeys and 5 girls. You have given honey. You are left with 9 slots, isn't it? The next slot, there's an opportunity of 4 out of 9 being honey and 5 out of 9 being girl. Let's say you allocate honey again. You see, the probability is reducing now. You know what I mean? So the previous probability affect the next allocation up to 10. You restrict. So some form of restricted sequence allocation. Now let me just go through this slide. I want him to pay me. So I want him to say he finished the training, whether it was good or bad, but he finished. Blinding. I know these slides we have to have other slides. So blinding, you can use a placebo. A placebo is what? Any intervention that looks like, smells like, tastes like, and is administered like. You know what I mean? Looks like, smells like, tastes like, and is administered like the intervention. But is not active, it is inert. Meaning, if placebo, if intervention is given twice a day, placebo must also be given twice a day, and you better pray it's not an injection, isn't it? Who is blinded? The patient, the attendant, or the nurse. Who else is blinded? The one who is going to measure whether blood pressure has increased or reduced. The one who's going to measure the wound. Okay? So what happened here? Could someone tell that that wound received gel or honey? How? Because gel is made in America and honey is made in Arua. West Nile. Oh, I think the Prime Minister is calling me. No, my Prime Minister, my wife. You thought of who now? The one who is appointed. Let's go ahead. It is possible in this paper. Let's go. There was a place where they said wound management. Yeah? All wounds were cleaned once daily with normal saline. Honey was applied with a prepared wooden spatula, using a fresh spatula for each application. Intrasite gel was expressed from sterilized sachets. Are they the same? Are they the same? No. One is expressed, one is applied with spatula. That difference in administration will break the blinding. You are getting me? So there's a high risk of, so the other one is saying, man, I'm clever. You still have to ask Alison to search for you the papers. You still have to double screen with someone. Yes? Let's go ahead. Incomplete outcome data. If the data is not complete, because patients were lost to follow-up, because someone forgot to record death, because someone forgot to record the outcome, that one you can't even use it because you don't know what happened. Yes? Then there is incomplete outcome data giving you what? What bias? Attrition bias. Low risk of bias, no missing outcome. Hey, hello, why are you not telling me these things? I'm talking to myself. I see. High risk of bias, missing outcome data. Read about protocol analysis and intention to treat. Selective outcome reporting, and so on and so forth. Now, let's go to our paper and conclude. We talked about detection bias. Now, in detection bias, it is how they were measuring. And here it is, outcome measures. No, it is here. Wound evaluation. KP evaluated each wound on the day of entry to the trial without knowing which agent would be applied. When the healing endpoint was approaching, he measured the surface area daily, still blinded. This is what they are saying, that he would still be blinded. Is that true? How would he break the knowledge at this point, even if he didn't apply? How would we, at the time of measuring the wound, because they are measuring the surface area, the applied agent from a previous day having been washed off with normal saline. They imagine the agent was applied yesterday. All you need to do is to ask the patient, did you receive anything on this wound? Yes. How? They use a spatula. Honey. They use the sachet. Girl. I think I'm going to put this patient in the way the wound is looking. Let me say he was in honey. This is what we are trying to avoid. Or, you know, when you are measuring the wound, you are using calipers. And calipers are in millimeters. You may have a rounding off bias because it's never really, it's never made in a factory. The one which is 0.056, because it is honey, you may reduce and say, let me make it 0.50. You get? Because of your knowledge, it's disturbing you. So I think I am going to close this now with this here. 3 slides, comrades. 3 slides. 1, avoid quality scales, use a domain approach, focus on trial results. Focus on the trial results. Focus on specific outcomes. There are outcomes which will not be affected by blinding. They are called hard outcomes. They are called what? For example, death. Either you are dead or you are not dead. Irrespective of whether it was blinded or not, COVID was killing us like flies and chicken. Isn't it? So death was certain. HIV status. Using antigen tests. Isn't it? Have you turned positive or negative? Whatever. This is what I was saying about risk of bias. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have garbage data, Charlene, and you have a perfect protocol, you have a perfect team, you have Alison here searching for you, you have everything. You have the meta-analysis software, Revman. You have Stata. You will still get garbage because of bias. If you have study data, which is very good, primary studies, well conducted, you have a garbage model. You don't have a protocol, which is registered. You don't have a protocol, which is following the Prisma P guidelines. You don't have a team. You are searching by yourself in Google. You are Googling it instead of PubMed, instead of Agora, instead of Google Scholar, right? You will still have garbage results. And this is the difference between concealment of allocation, which happens before randomization, and blinding, which maintains or diminishes what we call post-randomization biases. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a good night. Are there any questions? Post them on the email. We shall attend to them starting tonight until next year when the next course comes about. Thank you.
Everybody, can you hear me online, please? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, please give us 10 minutes. We want to take group photos and we'll be back to round up the workshop. Thank you very much. Yes, yes. Okay. We will be taking virtual screen photos as well, so you could put on your camera, and I'll give us like 30 seconds to do that, please. Put on your camera, grab your cup of coffee. You have the camera. You have the camera. Have you taken the photos? You'll be taking the screenshot, right? Let me see if you're doing that for me. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? We are taking screenshots, please. Okay, we have shared an email containing the post-session quiz for Dr. Ekwara's session. So you take another quiz. It's essentially the same questions. It's just to test the level of assimilation of the lecture. Yes, and we have also shared a link to the systematic review catalog. We told you we are developing a tool because we understand that many systematic review enthusiasts, they have troubles finding the right teams, finding the right mentors. So we are developing a web tool and we want your feedback or contribution to develop the tool. So we have shared the tool online. So it's in your email and you can always go through it. And the last part of this announcement before we go for photos is a workshop survey. Please confirm you've received it, a post-workshop survey. Is it in your email? Would like to spend 5 minutes, Dr. Ekwara and Prof. Allison, please permit me 5 minutes. We want to listen to the online participants. We want them to give us their feedback. We're receiving a lot already on the chat box and for the past 2 days. So we want them to give us their feedback and we'll be sharing a form. They could also access the workshop there and give us their feedback there. So, all right, so please, if you would want to give us a feedback, let us know what you think about everything that has been happening from day 1 to day 3. Just raise your hand. Thank you, Davidson.
Hello.
Davidson.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. I'm Dr. Davidson John from Nigeria. I'm a service and a lecturer in the Federal University of Health Science in Ebonyi State, Nigeria, Southeast Nigeria. So I am so delighted to be part of this program, and I want to say kudos to the organizers. So they're quite efficient, and the organization, of course, I've been involved in the organization of national programs, online programs for my association as Secretary of Education. I know the difficulties, especially in technology, and hitches here and there. You did not have such issues except for power outage from the end of few of the presenters. So from your end, the technology input is superb, and that made the whole program to be engaging and very, very interesting and real time. Release of information, the slides, the recordings at real time is something else, you know. So, and the few problem that we have, which is the spreadsheet, the Excel spreadsheet, you corrected it immediately and gave us Google form for filling of attendance. I think people are listening and you intervene and solve problems, you know, as they arise. So I think I'm giving people 90%. That is so wonderful. That is all from my end. And resource persons that were selected, very impactful. They have mastery of what they're doing. The delivery was superb. You know, even this last one, the delivery was superb. You can really understand, you know, what is being taught. It's practical, it's engaging, and I love it. And there is no bias, so to say, between the physical attendees and virtual attendees. It's engaging, you know, both for the physical and for the online people. I love it. I say thank you for this great organization ability and efficiency in delivery. And it's a wonderful package. I thank you for your packaging. Thank you. That's all that I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Please, we have to make it like 30 seconds so others can speak. Victor, you can go ahead, please. Victor, Abebe, Moses, Adewale.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Very well.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Abebe from Ethiopia, and I was highly impressed with the organization, the time management, the resource person selection, and the content of the workshop. And it's really engaging, and I have learned a lot from it. And I like to have similar extension or further work on this regard. Thank you very much for the opportunities and also for the lessons and for the resources as well. Thank you very much.
Very much. Now we hear from Moses, please. 30 seconds. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. Please, my program is slide.
Can we hear from Kazim? Can we hear from Paul or Stephen?
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Adebayo.
Hello, Dr. Fortune. I want.
Sorry, Paul, go ahead. Sorry, Kazim.
My name is Paul Adebayo. I'm a postgraduate student in Obafemi University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. Concerning the program that's coordinated and organized by the facilitator of the program, it's a very, very impressive and outstanding performance. It's an eye-opener. I give you guys credit because your rate of response to critical situation is very, very outstanding. I really appreciate you well, and I will continue to strengthen you in all ramification. And I look forward to other programs organized by the association. God bless you once again. My name is Paul Adebayo from Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Stephen?
Hello.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Here. Victor Lomonyang from Uganda. I am calling from Karamoja. I appreciate the workshop, and it's my first time even to see the professor who has been taking us through very good, interesting session. I appreciate all presenters. I have benefited a lot. I've never attended this kind of community, and I'm happy to be part of the team. I am one of the staffs in IDI, by the way. I stationed in Moroto, and I work for USAID Park project. Personally, I've benefited a lot from this training, and I really hope to get more training as it's going on. Also, you have opened my way to be part of the African community, which I never thought of being very part of it. Otherwise, the training is so timely, and I take it positive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Emmanuel from Cameroon. I work with the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. It's quite an impressive organization we have for young researchers like us. I've never thought of such a thing for Africa. I want to praise those who put this together. The organization was so excellent, and I learned quite so much. And I want to appreciate the professors. It was so timely. The presentations were wonderful. Just like the colleague from Nigeria said, I think I will rate them on above 90%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Can we hear from Henry?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And I really want to start by appreciating the organizers of this program. I really have thought that maybe I have some information about systematic review, but the way this program came, I knew that it was packed. And with the whole series of events that have happened from the beginning till this very moment, it shows that a lot of work was put into it. And I want to give kudos to the organizers and the facilitators. They are very, very experienced people, and their method, their style of teaching has actually influenced me. And I've learned quite a lot. And I want to say thank you very much for putting up this program. And I look forward to more programs like this. Sorry, I forgot to mention my name. I'm Henry from University of Ibadan Medical School, Nigeria. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Opare Temitope Elizabeth, a lecturer from School of Psychiatric Nursing, Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Abeokuta, also Nigeria, also a PhD student from Babcock University, Ileshan, Nigeria. I want to agree with others to appreciate the organizers of this program, the ACSRN, AutoAid, and Cochrane, Kenya, along with other collaborators. It's a worthwhile conference or seminar, and it's all encompassing. The arrangement of each lecture, they come in sequence and they follow each other. You know, you will see some lecturers asking, are you going to take this lecture on the research question? Are you taking this lecture on are you taking lecture on proposal registration? You see, everything, protocol registration, you know, they follow each other and it's really impacting. I want to say thank you so much, and I look forward, you know, being part of the group. I'm on the WhatsApp and other social media handle of the ACRSN and any other activities that will impact knowledge, especially when it comes to research. And I'm ready to work with available team. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yeah, Fatima, go ahead. Biru, you follow next, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I really want to appreciate all the presenters. They did a very good job. I'm Dr. Salami from Lagos State University of Education in Nigeria. Though I'm in the field of education, however, I learned a lot. I was exposed to lots of things. I've never heard of anything like scoping review, rapid review, and all those, though I've been hearing about systematic review. And I actually thought we could do something that can be done within a very short time, not knowing that there are differences among all those types of reviews. And the exposure to such strategy was really a top-notch for me. Thank you so much. I look forward to further workshops. However, I'm actually concerned about we in education. How can we actually be streamlined, being exposed to our own field? Because there are lots of times used that I didn't really understand, though I tried to do all these exercises, but I won't lie to you, the one given by Prof that just made this presentation, I couldn't do anything because I didn't really understand. Okay, however, thank you very much.
Very much. Biru, you can go ahead.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Perfectly.
Okay, thank you very much for organizing this very important workshop, and I like the way you organize and the way you handle this huge amount of participants from the Zoom and also from the YouTube. So this is a good example for other team also. We learn a lot from you, and also the way you select the presenters, or so they are very impressive. We learn a lot from them, and also in addition to what we learn, it is a good platform to know each other, to know the potential of expertise in Africa, and so it is easy to work together in different projects in the future. So it is a good platform to know how much expert or the potential of different expertise in Africa. So it is good to we know each other, so it is easy to work together for the future. So that is what I wanted to say. So thank you for all organizers. Back to you.
I'm sorry, we can just take 2 more because of time. I'll take Alex and Comfort Bandu. Thank you. The rest you can share through feedback. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Victor Kebalama once more from Nigeria. So I just want to thank the organizers for very job well done. Learned a lot within a very short period of time. Although I just have a little concern because the first day I couldn't join through Zoom. So I joined through the YouTube channel. And on that day, we didn't really get the registration form for that day through the YouTube channel. So I'm thinking if that will also be put into consideration why the certificates will be prepared for the participants. Thank you, sir.
Good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. My name is Adebimola Afolabi from Nigeria. I'm a nurse and I'm a doctoral student at the Department of Nursing Science, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. I want to especially appreciate the organizer and the funders of this program, the facilitator, as well as the crew behind the camera, those who are DECA crew. I really want to appreciate you. This kind of program is not usually common, very comprehensive, very educative, free of charge. Thank you so much for this privilege, for this opportunity. My own request is that beyond this training, that if there will be opportunity for mentor-mentee, for continuity of what has been taught, we need to go and put it into practice, then feedback on a regular basis. Is a hand-on-deck training, is a skill acquisition training. So I want to request for if there's any opportunity to enhance continuity, mentor-mentee avenue. Thank you so much once again.
Hello, Buki Afolabi, you can go ahead, please.
She just did.
I think we can have Lynn Uchieno.
Yes, hello everyone. I really do want to appreciate the organizers and the teachers. I am a new PhD student at the University of Nairobi in the Library and Information Science Department. But to tell the truth, I had not heard much about systematic literature review. And one of my lecturers told me they were going to throw me at the deep end and I should find my way to the shallow end. But I have survived. I have learned so much. I mean, the lecturers were something else. All the doctors and professors who have contributed, thank you very much. And for the organizers, please, when you are putting people in groups for mentoring and follow-up, kindly remember those who are not directly in the health sciences or the pure sciences. We also want to learn and grow professionally. But really, thank you very much to all of you, and God bless you. Over to you.
Okay, let's have William Asamo appear.
There are 4 of them. This one is now. Oh, none of them is here. We'll just pick for them.
William.
Okay. You ready? Just ready.
Okay. Stephen Ekonyu.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Thank you very much for your awesome feedback. We'll now be doing the presentation of awards and to be facilitated by Dr. Ekwara Buku and Prof. Alison Kinengere. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much for being patient with us. The remarks I have had are very strange because they are praising a course which is predominantly online. Over, I see our assessment, 2,700 plus. If young,
yes.
2,700 plus
yes.
Respondents in the initial, the pre-course was 2,700. Zoom 300, YouTube, and so on. So 3,000 plus. People have been reached with the cream here. Here, I'm very privileged to be with the cream of the whole of the world. But in Africa, and they are praising the ICT. They are praising the what? In Africa. Africa is moving. Africa is what? Rising. Ideally, courses in Africa are supposed to be very challenging, hard to reach. Even internet has corners to cut and mountains to climb and weathers to weather. So I'm privileged to offer this award. Where is the award? Or is it SMS? Sometimes the award we're not supposed to see.
Yeah, you can.
you open people, and you know the red color. The red color is very important in DC. Let's start with those who are there. Alison. Alison is here. Let's start with Alison. We start with those who are there. Now, where is the cameraman? Cameraman has gone away when we need him most.
Coming.
Can you bring this here and this one here? Can you bring them together? Let's put one here. We need this one closer. We need this one closer. Oh, help me. I cannot meta-analyze this. Bring that here. Bring the IDI one here. Yes. No, you have to put it back. Okay. You can take the IDI one there. No. The IDI one there. The other side. Because we already have the 20 years here. We need the Africa community, the course thing. You will have to hold it physically behind for the photo moment. Right? Just put it here, just in front of them. Now you have to hold it behind there and make sure you are not seen. Make sure you are not seen. Okay, the first awardee is Professor Alison Kinengere. Please bring. Hey, Chief, please get off there. Come get it. You must be in the photo. Get that? But I cannot award my member. You're the one to award. Give it to her. No, please give it to her and let it face the camera. So that we say Dr. Efyong of the Africa's community, okay, awarding Professor Alison of the Africa Center. This is very symbolic because of what they call South-South collaboration. There's always a hand from the north, but south is okay also. Okay. Who else is available? No, he's not here. He's not here. No, it's fine. This one is enough for the photos. We'll just give it to him. We have also awarded. You come and hold all three of them since you are the chief. Come. Where's Rosaline? Rosaline is where? Rosaline? Just take photos, yeah. So that we can, are you from the community? Yeah, just hold it for the purposes of photos. Alison, we can do it. We can take photos. You should have told us and we would have brought a director, executive director here.
I think you should call the name.
Yeah, I'm seeing one here of Lillian Mayeka, Okay. You will give that to Lillian Mayeka. She's in Nairobi, right? And then Dr. Moses Ochan. Dr. Moses Ochan there. And then Leonard Uzaira. Where is this one? Nigeria. Very good. There's also mine. I'm giving it myself. Imagine.
And finally, I would like to take this opportunity to hand over this plaque.
Thank you.
That's how systematic reviews are. When there is no protocol. You are seeing? When there is no what?
Protocol.
When there is no protocol, you can remove the computer, what the thing is facing a north. Yeah? Thank you so much. You've got the thing. This one wants to go back.
I need to pack mine.
Just 1 minute. Hello, everybody, both online and in-person participants. Please just give me 1 minute of your time. Let's take the final announcement. So the first thing is a systematic review catalog. We have shared the links. And please, it's very important that you share your feedback with us, because we believe that if we are successful in developing this tool, it will benefit all of us. It will be easy for you to get collaborators for your systematic reviews, and it will be easy for you to get mentors for your systematic review. Now, we have over 150 questions on the question box. And you see, it's very impossible for us to tackle all of them here. And maybe before the end of the week, it might be over 200. So it's difficult for us to tackle all of them. But then we recently started a program called Ask the Experts session. So in the Ask the Experts session, we invite panelists and we take some of the very confusing questions from our communities and we throw it open and the expert provide answers to them. So these over 200 questions that we have provided, one of the ways we are going to approach them is including them in our Ask the Expert session. Some of them will make webinars for them. Some of them, we will connect you directly to the mentors. Thank you. Please, your feedbacks for the topic and research questions will also come later. And Professor has offered to mentor one of the participants who has submitted the search strategy. So she's going to mentor you through the entire systematic review process. So what we might potentially do will be to take also the best topic that was submitted, the best research question, the best eligibility criteria, and we all assign them to mentors. Then for the others, I don't know about Dr. Kwara's availability, but I believe that some of the submissions that we have made is going to provide one-on-one feedback for them. And then, yes, we've received all the suggestions of post-course mentorship. Yes, it's very important, but we are really, really strained of mentors. So what we are trying to do is to get enough mentors. And once we get enough mentors, we'll be able to design a very good package for you. And then this is like an appeal from the African Community for Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analyses. Dr. Ikwara, we know that you're a very important personality in this university, and same with Prof. Allison. We are making a very kind appeal that we modify the postgraduate curricula a little to give more room for systematic review, lectures, and trainings, because we believe that we cannot do it alone. We cannot we cannot build capacity significantly alone. So we have to work with the universities. So when we did our assessment, comparing with the first world countries, we realized that in the master's curriculum, that's like the first or second course they start them with. So we don't know how possible that will be, and we don't know what processes are involved, but this is an appeal that we are making. And this is from all of us at AuthorAid. All right, finally, we want to thank everybody. Dr. Ikwara, I am truly, truly grateful that from the initial emails that we sent, you responded positively and you stood with us, brought up your team, and very important person you brought was Prof. Allison. She has been a very powerful support. She secured this amazing place that we are staying and the feeding. She connected us to those good services. And we feel that everything is fantastic. Coming from, we have done similar events in Rwanda and we've done in Lagos, Nigeria. So I can say that this has been the best. The facility, the food, everything. And yeah, and I also think the Ugandan people are very fantastic people. I never knew them. Yes, I never knew them from this perspective, but coming to spend some days with them, they are really amazing people. Thank you very much for hosting us. And this appreciation will not be complete if we don't thank AuthorAid. Just to let us know, this event is financially sponsored by AuthorAid. AuthorAid is a flagship initiative of INAPS. INAPS means International Network for Advancing Science and Policy. So what INAPS initially does is to build capacity. So our organization is supported by AuthorAid to build this capacity. And we really thank Andy Nopes. Thank you very much, Andy, for believing in us. Thank you for standing by us throughout the process of submitting the proposal, revising it, and making it very good. And we want to thank our friends from Cochrane, Kenya. Thank you very much, Lillian. Lillian has been a very important member of the team. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody that has supported us. Finally, in conclusion, it will not be complete if we don't thank our ACSRM community. They are our biggest supporters. They promote our events. We have faculty members, we have professors, we have doctors, and they are always promoting our event. They're always supporting us. So thank you, ACSRM. I cannot see anybody here, but I know you're listening to me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything. Thank you very much, Rosalind. Rosalind is the second backbone we have. And without her, I'm not sure we could go this far. Thank you very much, everybody. I would really miss Uganda. And I'm definitely going to come back next year. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest. Okay.
Oh, thank you. So two things. One is the issue of his very important and very informative slides. I don't know how we receive them. And two is the issue of certificates. Otherwise, I am glad and I add my voice to appreciate all this. Thank you. Over.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I talk very fast. I'm trying to meet up time. We have to snap some good photos. Yes, definitely we'll give certificates, but we are very strict with the assessment, and it might not be possible for you to get a certificate if you have not completed the assessment. And one thing is that we have over 3,200 or 700 registrants, and it might be difficult for us to manage all the complaints. So if you will not receive your certificate, it might mean that you did not qualify. And if you keep sending emails, it might be impossible for us to respond to all of them. So have I answered your question? Then for the slides, we'll settle all those things. So between today and tomorrow, we'll receive all the slides and everything that we need. And there were some other questions. Please just give us more time. We'll respond to all these things. Thank you very much. God bless you. Good. Yes. I think down is better. Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Uganda. Sawa sawa. Yes, I have. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yes, please, we are going down, please. Can you guide us? Okay. Then they went to the local building. No, this is for online. Where?
Yep. Okay. Hi friends. For those of us who are still in the room, we've come to the end of the conference. I know a number of people are asking about certificates. So we have a criteria for the certificate, which is going to be dependent on attendance and completion of the quizzes. The organizers have to travel back home and settle in and then start working on the certification. So please give us 21 working days and you would have your certificates in your email. Otherwise, if you have questions, please post on the WhatsApp group or send an email and your concerns would be addressed. Otherwise, thank you. It's been a long couple of days and thank you for being patient with us and have a very wonderful weekend. Goodbye. So I